Hello ladies and gentlemen, Gapesty here. This is the Heroic DPS guide for Galakras, and this video should assist DPS role players with getting through the basics of this encounter successfully on Heroic. So let's get started. So the only change or addition on Heroic is the Demolitionist NPCs, which are a couple of goblins that you see on the top left there, that will try to activate the current tower that's being progressed, basically. These NPCs will be attacked every minute by a grunt mob, and this grunt needs to be killed or controlled in some way to prevent it from killing the Demolitionists. So this will be a job for one DPS player, preferably a ranged DPS, and a healer. So if you are that DPS player, in our case we're using our Shadow Priest, the best thing you can do is watch your boss timers, or just watch the tower in general, and when a grunt spawns, quickly turn and kill it as soon as you can. It will be susceptible to CC, so you can stun it and root it and all that stuff. But the best thing you can really do is just to kill it quickly, and this will protect the Demolitionists, and therefore the tower will activate. Once the tower is at 100%, you have no need to protect the Demolitionists any longer. You can just ignore them from that point until the other tower starts to progress and repeat the process there on the other side. But that's it. If you're assigned to that job, kill the grunt that spawns on them quickly, and then just help with the normal ground mobs after that. Now, if you are a DPS assigned to the ground, so basically you're dealing with all the waves of spawns in the path, then there are a few minor things you can do to increase your DPS. The best thing, of course, is to maximize overall damage above prioritizing targets. So this means that you have a slightly higher chance that NPCs that are more dangerous than others will be alive longer, but overall, more DPS on these NPCs is more important than focusing specific targets. There are a few exceptions to this, but generally speaking, if you're a strong area of effect, sort of cleave-based DPS, being on the ground and dealing with these mobs is ideal. If you're sort of a single target DPS, you'll probably want to be in the tower group instead. For the most part, the other main things to watch for are the flags that spawn. When these spawn from the flag bearers, you should immediately switch and kill them. Similarly, you should do the same for the healing tide totems from the shamans. And then finally, if you have an interrupt or a silence of some kind, make sure you keep these shamans focused or targeted to interrupt their heal if they start to chain heal. Other than that, you can just, as I said, cleave or AE off of anything and kill them off as quick as possible. The other time to focus on targets is when the Demolisher spawns, which you see there. So depending on your raid strategy, if you're trying to kill the Demolisher quickly before the tower group can go up, then you probably want to burst this down when it spawns, ignoring whatever else is active at the time. Otherwise, stay spread out down below, make sure you're in heal range. Things like Drake Fire from the Drakes once the tower is activated will be a huge amount of incoming damage, so don't be afraid to use personal damage cooldowns to keep that damage mitigated somewhat. And now on the other hand, if you are assigned to one of the tower groups, then as a DPS, there's really nothing different than the normal version of this fight. You head up following the tank closely, make sure you don't get up top before the tank does, and then focus on the lieutenant first and foremost. So it's just the primary lieutenant mob that's up top. You want to cleave off this target, so make sure your tank pulls near other NPCs if possible. But for the most part, the goal is to kill the lieutenant first, because once that lieutenant is dead, there's no risk of being knocked off the tower, and really the rest of the mobs are not very dangerous. So once that's dead, you as a DPS can finish off the rest of the mobs and then drop down. Most of the time, your tank that's up top will be assigned to deal with the gun and shoot the drakes down. But make sure you're aware if you need to be staying up there to do that or not. Once you're up top, you can also click on the rope that's up there, and then this rope can then be used to travel up and down the tower as needed afterward. So finally, when you're facing Galakras, depending on your raid strategy, you may or may not be split up into two groups behind the boss, which is what we are here. Generally speaking, your basic goal as a DPS is, of course, to focus on Galakras while managing the fireballs if they target you. So I'll talk more about the raid strategy stuff for this phase in the quick guide or the raid guide in the bottom left there if you want to check those out. But I'm going to assume that your raid is using the same strategy we are, which is essentially moving the fireball behind the 2 positions every 3rd cast. So the first 3 casts, you go behind the group on the right, regardless of where you were standing originally. The next 3 casts, you go behind the group on the left, and the next 3 back to the right, and so on and so forth, back and forth every 3. Once your fireball explodes, you are safe to move back to your assigned position. But the goal here is to just rotate that fireball position every 3rd cast, and this will keep the dot stacks really low and help mitigate the damage. So, otherwise, this phase is, like I said, just like the normal version, just like most of this fight. So just do your management of the fireball properly, and then DPS the boss as quickly as you can. So that's it. That's the Heroic DPS guide for Galakras. As always, good luck, thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed, please subscribe.